That was brutal. I mean, how many times are the Bulls going to be on the losing end of a game winner? We just saw it the other night against the Pacers with Tyrese Halliburton's game winner. You had that crazy game against the Atlanta Hawks earlier, Suggs that game-winning 3 against the Bulls earlier in the season, and it's these close losses that are so gut-wrenching, and this one being against one of the better teams in the league in the Sacramento Kings, which still seems weird to say that the Kings are one of the better teams in the NBA. I need to do a video on them, by the way, on my NBA channel, but anyway, another loss in the clutch. Bulls being one of the worst clutch teams in the league by record going into tonight, and the Kings being one of the best. So you kind of knew it likely wasn't going to end well when you saw the Bulls down by 6 with less than a minute to go. But then the Bulls somehow almost pulled it off. Intentional fouls got lucky with the Kings splitting that pair of free throws twice. Little clock left and DeMar hoists up a 3. Probably wasn't the best shot considering DeMar isn't the best three-point shooter and it was heavily contested. But he makes the 3 and gets the foul, ties the game with less than 15 seconds to go. Then Sacramento challenges the foul, which I'll admit was close, but then because they lose the challenge, they actually lost their final timeout. And I don't know, it might just be me, call me crazy. I feel like I actually would have preferred to see the Sacramento Kings have a timeout there, because it also would have given the Bulls a timeout. It gives the Bulls time to actually set up their defense, understand who's going to be on who's going to come over to help in the event of a double team, or plan for the right switches. Like in those scenarios, because the Bulls haven't done well in those final moments without a timeout, I just would have preferred something a little better set up. Now, I've already seen a lot of people on Twitter going at Billy Donovan for why there wasn't better ball coverage on Fox when clearly you knew that he was going to be taking the last shot. That's his role. He closes the games for them. He's been arguably the best clutch player this season in the NBA. Why was no one else coming over to double him? Well, first of all, Patrick Williams was a little late getting over and trying to deter that shot. That's on Pat. And second, there isn't a lot you can do on a guy like Fox, who has just been playing out of his mind this season. Like, there are just some guys in this league, no matter how well you guard them, they're going to hit those clutch shots. Still sucks, still annoying, because you would have hoped that the Bulls would have been able to send this thing to OT and go into it with the momentum after that crazy and 1-3 by DeMar DeRozan, and then hopefully win the game. But look, I can't be too mad about this loss because the Bulls are still playing much better basketball. For the most part, aside from the bad third quarter, they played well in this one. They fought hard. They played with excellent pace. Like in the first half, I felt like this was the Bulls team we saw at the beginning of last season. The team that was that run and gun style offense that was killing teams most nights despite not taking that many threes. Like, I've seen some people mention me on Twitter saying, well, the Bulls aren't going to make the play-in now for sure. I wouldn't be so sure. Yes, this was a pretty crushing loss that would otherwise be demoralizing for a team, but there is a new sense of energy and urgency for which they are playing, and a close loss, hard-fought loss to the second-seeded team in the Western Conference isn't that bad. I'm not saying the Bulls have turned some kind of corner and are going to go on this crazy run in the playoffs, knocking out one of the top seeds in the first round, no. But something has shifted with this team that I actually think will get them back on track from the prior 2 games and actually make the play-in and even play their way into the playoffs. Probably a little too optimistic on my part because this team has burned me before. But how about this? The Bulls, did they really take 42 threes in this game? I feel like that has to be a season high for them. I saw Casey Johnson say this was only the second time the Bulls have taken more than 40 threes all season. The Bulls somehow matched their opponent in threes taken. I'd actually be curious to see how many times this season the Bulls have taken more threes than their opponent. Like maybe once or twice? I'll have to take a look at that after I record this. But anyway, 42 threes from the Bulls. They hit them at a decent clip, except for Vucevic, and a decent clip, but they also missed some pretty big threes in the final 5 minutes that really could have put the Bulls over the top. But you had Coby White go 4 for 6 from 3, Patrick Williams 3 for 5, Zach 2 for 7, even DeMar was 4 for 6 from 3 tonight. What? And 2 of those threes were 4-point plays. That would be something if DeMar suddenly started becoming a 3-point shooter this late in his career. I would take that. But anyway, Vucevic 0 for 7 from deep. Yikes. Still managed to finish the game scoring 20 points and 14 rebounds, but man, we really needed a couple of those threes to go down. Aside from his threes, he actually shot 8 for 15 from the floor, so those missed threes really killed us. Zach Lavine, this was his least efficient game since the All-Star break, where he's just been on an absolute tear, an insane hot streak since then. Tonight, it took him a little while to finally get it going after missing his first 5 or 6 shots. Started coming alive in the second half, driving it to the hoop, which Zach has been so good at finishing at the rim more recently. Still managed to put up 25 points despite only shooting 7 for 22 because he was great at drawing contact and was perfect from the line, going 9 for 9. Patrick Beverley, not the best game for him offensively, 1 for 7, 1 for 6 from 3, but 11 rebounds. Still crazy to me how good he's been for the Bulls when it comes to rebounding for a guy who's only 6'1". 1, which, by the way, yet another game in which the Bulls won on the offensive glass. Kings were giving up a lot of second chance opportunities to the Bulls. Bulls didn't always capitalize, but this is the third straight game now where the Bulls out-rebounded their opponent on the offensive glass. Tonight, 13-5. This, of course, coming off those handful of games where the Bulls were giving up so many second chance opportunities to their opponent and having 20 plus less shot attempts than the other team. Tonight, the Bulls had 97 shots compared to the Kings' 78. And yet they still lost the game. Bulls also weren't that efficient from the field as a whole. Obviously, that was part of the problem. Only shot 39% from the field compared to the Kings' 48%. They did force a lot of turnovers to the Kings, though, especially in the first half. Then the Kings got a little more buttoned up going into the second half, but 13 steals in total for the Bulls tonight, and that's without Alex Caruso. Patrick Williams had 4 of those steals alone. Pat had a nice game, actually. 13 points, 5 for 12 shooting, 3 for 5 from 3, 4 rebounds, 4 steals, and a block. Just was a little late in getting over on that final possession when the goal really should have been getting the ball out of Fox's hands. But you also have to give De'Aaron Fox a ton of credit. That was an insane shot. Just sucks that it has to be on the receiving end of that when you just saw it happen the other night against Tyrese Halliburton. How about Sabonis, by the way? Triple-double, 14 points, 17 rebounds, 10 assists. Dude is a good player. We'll see what happens when his contract expires next season. Maybe the Bulls can make a push. But anyway, Bulls remain 11th in the East, a half game behind the Wizards still, although the Bulls do own the tiebreak over them. 1.5 games behind the Raptors for 9th and 2.5 games behind the Hawks for 8th. So it's definitely still up for grabs. I wouldn't say a loss like this means the Bulls are done and going to miss the play-in. Still 14 games left on the docket. Anyway, Bulls are off tomorrow. They're right back at it on Friday at the UC against the Timberwolves, another team fighting for that tight race between seeds 5 through 13 in the West. But until then, guys, as always, be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.